Welcome to the Book Party Podcast.
Join us as we journey into the world of books with Michael T.
Prepare to be captivated by engaging interviews, insightful discussions, and fascinating stories. You'll discover new adventures and gain insight into the creative process of the authors themselves as they share their struggles and accomplishments. Now let's hear from Michael T.
This is Michael T. I'm introducing Steph Katzovi. Stories are a gateway to the worlds where animals talk. Adventure awaits around every corner, and the impossible becomes possible. In our exclusive interview with Steph Katzovi, we uncover the inspiration behind her charming stories and the joy she finds in bringing smiles to the faces of children and parents alike. Children's books are a treasure trove of possibilities. Get ready to step into this treasure trove of possibilities where imagination knows no bounds and the magic of childhood is celebrated on every page of Steph Katzovi's beloved books. Whether you're a young reader, a parent sharing stories, or someone who believes in the power of innocent wonder, this episode promises to delight and inspire. So get cozy and prepare to be transported to enchanted worlds as we explore the enchanting tales of children's author Steph Katzovi. Welcome to where dreams take flight and stories come to life. Steph is a captivating child's author who weaves magic and wonders into stories, enchanting young minds and sparking their imaginations with a talent for crafting tales that resonate with the pure essence of childhood. Katzovi's writing has found a cherished place in the hearts of both children and parents. Born with an innate love for storytelling, Steph Katzovi embarked on a journey creativity that would lead her to become a beloved author of children's literature. Drawing from inspiration found youth boundaries, curiosity, and innocence. She crafts narratives that transport readers to fantastical worlds where animals talk, dreams take flight, and the ordinary becomes extraordinary. Katzovi's stories are not just tales, they are gateways to imagination where children can explore new landscapes, embrace the diverse characters, and learn valuable life lessons. Through her words, she encourages young readers to believe in themselves, to embrace their uniqueness, and celebrate the joy of discovery. One of her most cherished qualities is the ability to create characters that resonate deeply with her audience. These characters, be they brave adventurers, creatures curious, or unlikely heroes, mirror children's emotions and experiences in their own lives. Katzovi's storytelling effortlessly bridges the gap between the real and the fantastical, fostering empathy and understanding in young minds. Beyond their literacy accomplishments, Steph is a passionate advocate for the importance of reading in the child's development. She believes that books serve as the windows to the world and mirrors to own one's heart. Through school visits, workshops, and engagements with young readers, she spreads the joy of reading, inspiring and next generation of storytellers and dreamers. Steph Katzovi's legacy is not just in the stories she pens, but in the memories she helps create. Her books are often read aloud at bedtime, shared between generations, and treasured as keepsakes that hold the magic of childhood within their pages. As children's author, Steph Katzovi continues to inspire the captivate, leaving an indelible mark on the literacy landscape of young readers. With each new story she spins, she invites children to explore the boundless realms of imagination and reminds us all of the enduring magic of a well-told tale. Steph, why don't you take it from here, fill in the blanks a bit, and tell our listeners about yourself?
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for that amazing and incredible introduction. I hope to not disappoint as we have our conversation today, but I'm really pleased to be here with you and to share a little bit about myself. Um, I think one of the best ways that I can start the interview is to tell you that in addition to being a mother of two, the wife of an amazing husband, I'm also a trained lawyer by trade, but knew that writing was always what I wanted to end up doing in my life. And so I'm incredibly fortunate that I've had the opportunity to fulfill my passion and hopefully share that with the world.
So, in your journey as an author, did you take the journey as a self-publishing author, or did you take the journey of using an agency and an agent as an author?
I actually ended up being a self published author. I think one of the things that I've learned as I embarked on the process is that if you are passionate and you believe in your work and you're proud of your work, then you will go to whatever means that you can to make sure that you can share it with the world. And so for me, that meant working with an amazing publishing company, Brown Books, down in Texas. I've worked with a great editor, Tamsin Weston, who helped me polish and shine my material. And through this collaboration, I was able to share the book in not just the U.S., but there's also distribution overseas through a different company that can spread the word wherever you have internet.
Well, that was kind of part of my next question about collaboration because self-publishing is what I do, and
Hmm.
I collaborate with, people to do part of the editing and part of the do the formatting for me and even do the cover design.
Hmm.
uh, that I don't do because I did a disaster the first time I tried that.
Uh-huh.
And I actually use people on Fiverr because they're very good at what they do, and
Yeah.
it's cost effective.
Hmm.
And then I just do the uploads myself. And again, I think you're absolutely correct if you believe in your work. The other thing is when you go to a agent and then they have to go and find uh, somebody that's going to publish your work, it can take years
Yeah, and I
for that to
think
happen.
the publishing
And they
industry is
take over
small.
your book.
Hmm.
They take over your book and they want all these changes to happen. And pretty soon it's not your book anymore, and you want your work to be yours.
Right.
Okay. In writing your book, take us to the point of what you would consider your worst author moment.
I have to think very carefully about what I want to share because unfortunately I have a bunch of terrible moments. But I think the worst author moment was probably the realization that writing a book wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. As I mentioned earlier, I worked in a career as a speechwriter after law school. I worked at a great company called Deloitte, and I supported a very senior executive in the firm. And when he was retiring, I thought that might be a great time for me to quote unquote retire, as I had two young kids at home and I wanted to help raise them and play an active part in their lives. And so when I left the corporate world to write a book, I realized very early on that saying you want to write a book is very different than actually writing a book. And so for me, I became very interested in the process of how does one write a book? What do you do? And so I researched different books on how to write a book and read what authors said about writing a book, and then thought I had a good idea and wrote an outline for it and spent almost a year toiling away, writing and rewriting and not sure, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? And then I shared it with an editor who gave me some very positive, but also quite pointed feedback that this book needed an incredible amount of work to make it something that would even be commercially viable. And it took me a little while to realize that maybe this wasn't the book that was meant to be published. And so I put that first book away in a drawer, locked it up, and went back to the drawing board. And with the learnings that I had from what I did on that first book that never has seen the light of day, I wrote Hurricamp, the book that I actually did end up publishing, and a book that I'm incredibly proud of. And I've had a lot of really great comments and reviews from readers that this was a really impactful book. And so it was hard to accept that maybe sometimes when you write something and you spend a lot of time on it, it's not as great as it was hoped to be. But ultimately, I think it was a great learning experience, and great for my development as a writer to turn me into something that I could create a really impressive body of work.
Yeah, at least there was some lessons learned on that, right?
Yeah, but it was a lot of tough, in my mind, tough love that I spent all this
Well,
time writing a book.
you gotta have that tough love if you want to come out with something that's marketable and something that's going to be good piece of work. You got to accept that tough love.
No, it was incredibly
So,
motivating to hear some feedback that you've got a great writing style, but this story is a little too slow for children to be interested in the plot. And the characters are interesting, but it's just not an action-packed story that kids will want to read. And so I said,
right.
okay,
Okay.
point taken.
Well, let's turn this around a little bit. And it's what I call the epiphany moment, or some people would call it the aha moment.
Hmm.
But take us to a point in time, no matter what you were doing, except for your actual writing. I
Hmm.
mean, you could have been taking a shower, you could have been driving, you could have been making an argument in law. I don't know, whatever you were doing, changing a diaper. I don't know. And all of a sudden, something popped into your head about the book. And man, I got to write this down. It just bing popped into my head. The light bulb went off. I got to have a pen and paper. I got to write this down. Take us to a moment something like that happened.
Well, I would say that that happened last summer. It was after I finished my first book, and I was trying to think about what I wanted for my second book, and I had this really great idea for a plot, and I was like, "Ooh, this could be interesting." So the writing process for my second book took off exponentially because I had a great idea. And as we just talked about the lessons learned from my dusty, unpublished first book, I had realized all the missteps that I made in that process were things that I was going to skip over this time. And it was incredible that I was able to write my second book, the first draft at least, in about 6 weeks versus nearly a year. And so for me, that was the aha moment that maybe I can do this, and I know how to do this. And frankly, I think I've improved upon what I wrote in the first book, and now I have a sequel that's coming out in the spring.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So, what is the one thing? Well, let's go to today. What
Mhm.
is the one thing that you are most fired up about or most excited about right now today?
Well, speaking with you on your podcast, I've been on a bunch of podcasts over the past couple of years. And the thing that I enjoy most is connecting with others, sharing my story with folks like you, hearing your story. And, it's really about the connections that we create in life that make a difference in people's lives. And whether it's speaking, through a computer, or, for me, sharing my writing and messages that I wanted to share through my work. I think that's something that when I wake up in the morning, I'm energized about, I'm excited about. It's the passion that I have, and I hope to bring it to audiences that maybe I wouldn't necessarily meet on the street because we don't live next to each other. But this is what really gives me joy in life. And there was a quote by Mahatma Gandhi who said, "In a gentle way, you can shake the world." And so I think through my writing and through speaking with people on podcasts and other venues and schools, this is hopefully how I can shake the world.
Great. This is Michael T. Thank you for being with us this morning. We invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, then scroll down to the icon of your choice, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. You can find us on one of your favorite platforms. Download and follow us there, and please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. Get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Now, Steph, we're going to enter the lightning round. And in the lightning round, uh, it is 4 pointed questions for 4 pointed answers. So the first question is, before you became an author, what was holding you back from becoming an author in the first place?
I would say it's probably self-doubt or fear of failure, or if I get struck by lightning for giving you three short answers, forgive me, but it's worrying that I might not be talented. I think that was probably what held me back from really just embracing the experience of writing.
You mean compared to there's all these authors out there with all these big books and they got these big giant names. How am I going to compete with that?
Yeah, I think for me, what do you define as success when you share something very personal with the world? And you've got, these best-selling authors that sell millions of copies of books, and I realized that success does not necessarily mean that for me. For my first book, maybe, cross my fingers, it'll happen some other time. But, for me, success was writing something that I'm proud of, something that people enjoy. And once I realized that, I had the courage and the motivation to really give it my all and see things through till the publishing date. And I'm glad I did, because I think, when you really apply yourself to something that you're proud of and you're excited about, it shines through in your work. And hopefully that's the case for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not competing with any of them. You're writing something from yourself, from your own heart. You're writing that is what you're writing. So you're not competing with any of them. You're competing with yourself.
That's
You're
right.
putting your own pen to paper and you're competing with yourself. And once you realize that, it's your avatar that you're writing to, not
Hmm.
theirs.
Yes.
And you're a lawyer. You get up in court and you argue a case. You're not afraid of that. So you have a brief, you write things down, you write notes, and you're not scared to do that. You shouldn't be scared to do this. Anyway, you know, uh, it's just a book. Put your pen there, write your paper, or on your laptop, whatever you do. Okay, in writing your book or two, what was the best advice you ever received?
Best advice I ever received was to read everything you write out loud, but only read your work out loud once you're very satisfied that your writing is in a good place. Otherwise, you get stuck in that purgatory of forever editing. So, be happy with what you've written mostly, and then read it out loud to hear how it flows, how it sounds, what words might need to be changed and modified. And it really sharpens, I think, your story when you actually hear from your own mouth how it sounds to the reader or the listener, as the case may be.
Okay, great. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
For this, I would say there was a movie a long time ago called Glenn Glenn Ross, and there's a famous line, always be closing. And so I think I would modify this line for writers to say, always be writing. There was a great book by Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way, who encouraged writing as something you do from the start of the day, right when you sit down. And it got me in a great habit of constantly writing. And I think when you do that, you kind of keep your creative faucets open. And I think, for me, that's something that I really enjoy doing. And, just always be writing keeps your mind focused on the written word and spawns great ideas as a result.
Yeah, I've spoken to authors, and I'm talking about authors that have written 40, 50, 60 novels, and they have two different ways they do things. They first off, they all set a time, whether it's an hour or 30 minutes or whatever. First thing in the morning, they set their alarm to get up earlier than they normally would.
Hmm.
And they make this a habit every single day. They make a coffee or whatever they want, and then they just write. That's one half of them. They just
Hmm.
write every single day. The other half of them, they read every single day. Okay. So
Hmm.
there's two sets of them, because one belief is I write every single day, because if I put one word down, two words will come, then four words will come. Pretty soon I've got pages that are going to be there, and I just write. And some of the theory is write drunk, edit sober. Just write.
I think
Okay?
I'm going to try that.
Just start writing. Don't worry about sentence structure and punctuation, and come back and worry about that. Just start writing. Okay. The other ones that read, they learn from what they're reading,
Hmm.
and they go through an amazing amount of books when they read 30, 40 minutes a day, and they just sit there and read, and they say they learn an amazing amount just reading, you know.
I agree with
So
that. Yeah.
anyway, you know, so there's two different theories, and it works different for different people. So anyway, there's just different theories about that. So Steph, we're gonna enter into the grand finale. So if you could tell our listeners a way that they can get in touch with you, maybe follow you, find your book, and then just take your time and tell the listeners about your book.
Okay. You can find me on my website at www.steph with a PH, Katzovi, KATZOVI.com. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you type in Steph Katzovi, you'll probably get to me. Um, but in this day and age, Google is also a good friend. And then, if you want, I'll go right into telling a little bit about my books. Um,
Please.
okay. So I've written one book called Hurricamp that's published, and I have a second book that's a sequel called Miscommunicamp coming out in the spring. And just the genesis of this is it's a character that goes away to sleepaway camp in the first book and struggles with the independence that she suddenly has, being away from her parents and embracing the challenges that come with being on your own and not having that safety net. And so it explores the challenges of the characters becoming more independent, the complicated relationships of preteens, and the main character, whose nickname is Noodle, her road to discovering her inner courage. And because this is a story for kids, it has to have an interesting plot twist, and so it happens in the middle of a hurricane, and all ends up well. Not to spoil the book, but Noodle goes back to camp in the second book, the sequel. And in this book, she has experiences, again, a lot of common adolescent themes with friendship and self-discovery. And, for me, I think about writing for children because it's such an impactful age. And you think about childhoods like at 18 years, it's a really short amount of time in somebody's lifespan if they're lucky enough to live, into the later years. And so, targeting this audience when they're impressionable, when they're discovering themselves, when their sense of right and wrong and confidence comes. For me, if I can write a book that promotes positive values, confidence, and kindness, that's the place that I want to be in this world if I'm going to make an impact. And so hopefully through my works, the two that I have in progress and then future books, that's where I hope to keep my legacy, if you will, and really inspiring kids to be their best selves.
Yeah, we talked about your legacy in the beginning. So, Steph, we thank you so much for being with us here today and opening up to us. And I'm sure our listeners appreciate this too. Again, this is Michael T., and I thank you for being with us this morning. To all our listeners, I would invite you to go to bookpartypodcast.com, hit that subscribe tab on top, and scroll down to the icon of your choice where you can find us on one of your favorite platforms, such as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or Odyssey. You can download and follow us there. Please leave a review. Don't forget to sign up for our video newsletter and get the latest information on our upcoming shows. Book Party Podcast is owned and powered by MTM Legacy Publishing. This is Michael T. signing off.
You must not miss our next episode as we delve into a world of inspiration, entertainment, and thought-provoking insights. Join Michael T. on the next Book Party podcast and experience a new adventure, a new story, and a complete immersion into the world of Pages Unveiled, Chronicles of the Writing Journey.